What's going on, team? Caveman coming at you with another episode of the Caveman Betting Show. Now, guys, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, drop down some comments if you like the tips we give out, the breakdowns, if you've got some ideas of your own. Hey, if you want to become a special guest on the show, let us know and we'll make that happen. Alright, we're going to kick it off with a recap from last week. We gave out a few tips on the show. Started off, we had the Tigers playing the Bulldogs in the Rugby League. We had Tigers minus 6.5. They won by 12. That one came in a tick for us there. Our second game, we had the Titans minus 12.5 with the Cowboys. Titans ended up winning that one by 22. So 2 from 2. And our lock of the week, Johnny Munoz in the UFC to win by either KO or submission. He won by second round submission at 235. Another win, 3 from 3 on the tips we gave out on the show last week. A great start for us. Of course, the lock was the Johnny Munoz, and that's going to be our recorded pick moving forward. 1 from 1 so far on those. Now, our guest last week was Trav from Black Swan Bets. Now, Trav had France to beat USA in the basketball. Couldn't quite get there for the Olympic gold medal. Ended up going the way of the United States. But he did also shout out the plus points, which did come in. So we'll give him credit there, but we can't give him the win on France. Now, a couple of other ones we gave out. The look-ahead game, obviously coming up this weekend, that is Everton versus Southampton, and we're on Everton to win that one. And our future bet we gave out, wow, that has aged well already. So we had PSG to win the Champions League. Of course, Lionel Messi has now signed with PSG. So that has gone from $6.50 all the way down to $3.54 in some spots. So we got a massive edge on the line move there. Alright, team, let's jump straight into it. Now, I've got a few different sports coming up this week. We've got the Premier League starting. Thank God, this is going to be amazing. We've been without football for almost a week and a half since the Olympics. I'm starting to get the shakes. We're going to kick it off with Manchester United versus Leeds. Now, this game, I'm going to go with the total goals in this one. I'm going to go over 2.5. Now, you're getting about $1.65 minus 165, which, it's fine. I'm completely okay with that because I can see a lot of goals coming in this game. Now, last season in this same fixture, the game ended up 6-2, 8 goals in that one. Manchester United always likes to start strong, especially when they play in game week 1 fixtures. They've won the last 5 in a row, and they've scored in the first half as well of those 5. I believe 4 out of 5 have gone over the 3 goals. Well, 3 or more goals. So we're definitely on the right side here. This team has done wonders to their attack, bringing in Jadon Sancho. They're going to have Cavani with a bit of experience and hopefully a bit more fitness under his belt this season. Although I do prefer Cavani as a 30-35 minute come off the bench type of player. But I can see him starting this one. Mason Greenwood is coming through as well as looking like the next superstar for the Red Devils. All that being said, Leeds, they are a team that we saw last year. They can attack and attack and attack. They've got Patrick Bamford, Jack Harrison. They've got Rafinha, Rodrigo. These guys are all great attacking players. And they've got the ability to cut through the defence. Now, the Manchester United defence, I'm not expecting to be as good as they usually are in this first week. So you've got Harry Maguire. Obviously, he's been playing at the Euros. They got quite far there. Missed out at the end. We were on Italy. Boo boo. But he's probably going to be a wee bit tired. He's been getting rested a wee bit. Yeah, he'll be building his fitness back up, but I'm not expecting peak Maguire. Lindelof is going to be the other centre-half, and Lindelof has shown a lot of issues in his game over the last couple of years. He can be a liability in coverage at times. Other times he can be simply fantastic. But I see the liable Lindelof showing up this week. That being said, let's look at the Leeds defence. It is atrocious. I do not like this Leeds defence at all. They brought in Firpo, who's going to be playing as a wing-back, which is fine. But in the middle of the defense, you've got Calvin Phillips in that holding midfielder role. He's probably the best of it. After that, there's not a lot to love. So I can definitely see Manchester United scoring absolute minimum of 2 goals. Most likely 3 themselves, they get it done. And I don't mind Leeds coming back for 1 as well. So over 2.5, look, I like this pick. I've already taken a side on this myself. We're going Manchester United versus Leeds over 2.5. Moving on, and the tip number 2 I'm giving you out this week, we're going back to the NRL. We went 2 from 2 in the NRL tips last week. This week, we're going to the Rabbitohs versus the Titans. Now, we were on the Titans last week on the minus 12.5. That came in. This week, we're going to be taking the Rabbitohs minus 16.5. I called it out last week for you. The Titans play great up against poor sides. They are shocking when they're playing good sides. And the Rabbitohs, over the last month, have looked like the second best team in the competition. The Rabbitohs attack is fantastic. All the way from fullback right through to the halves. Even their forwards have been getting into the mix. A couple of weeks ago, Thomas Burgess, the prop, ran over for a double and had 2 different try celebrations loaded in the bank as well. So we knew something was up there. Cameron Murray has been simply fantastic in that lock forward position as well. This Rabbitohs side, I wasn't very high on them at the start of the year. I'll wear that one. Absolutely. They look brilliant. It'll be interesting to see how they do at the end of the season now that Nathan Cleary looks like he's coming back for the Panthers. I still have the Rabbitohs as a solid number 2 team right now. If we get a Rabbitohs versus Panthers semi-final for the NRL, I'd love to see that. That would be simply fantastic. A great game. Winner gets to play the Storm, who just look out and out the best team in the competition. Titans, like I say, terrible against good teams. They got the job done last week, but they still showed defensive flaws. They still show errors in attack. And up against a Rabbitohs team, you cannot make those errors. Now, the Rabbitohs have beaten this line in their last 3 games straight, all against teams that have got stronger defenses than what the Titans have. The Titans have scored 30 plus in their last 3 games, but they have played 3 of the 4 weakest defensive teams in the league right now. So that's why we're actually getting a better number of this line. This line probably should be around 20.5. That's where I have that in my power ratings. So getting minus 16.5 is simply fantastic at $1.90, minus 190 there. I think that's definitely the way to go, and that's where I'll be taking my lean, Rabbitohs minus 16.5. Now, our third game here, and we're going to the Rugby Union, the Rugby Championship, round 1. Although it's the second time these teams have played, they jumped in the action last week as well. New Zealand versus Australia. Always a good game. Gotta love this one. And I'm going to be on New Zealand minus 21.5, getting over the 3 converted try win. So last week, New Zealand was doing fantastic. I think they were out 33-8 at one point with 15 minutes to go, and then they just decided to take the foot off the gas. This New Zealand team, it's not as great as teams we have seen over the last 10 to 15 years, but it is coming together extremely well. They've got a high-octane offense. They can score on the counter-attack just as good as any All Blacks team in the past ever has. And let's be honest, this isn't the best Australian team we've seen. It's been the best that we've seen in a couple of years because Australia's been a little bit down in the Union over the last few seasons. But I still don't think they're up there to the quality that they can compete with in New Zealand with South Africa at the moment. So New Zealand minus 21.5. I'm going to throw that one in. Of course, the game is at Eden Park. Like I said, it was 33-8 last week. And then New Zealand decided to just let Australia back in. I can't see them doing that this week. That was their shake-up game. That was their warm-up game. You know, they decided to ease off just to preserve the energy, preserve the players a wee bit more so that they can come out and put an absolute score down on Australia this week. New Zealand minus 21.5. Those are my three leads. And that brings us to our guest segment for today. So today we have Danny, the traveling gambler, all the way from Black Swan Bets. Now Danny's going to chat to us over a few different episodes spaced throughout the next month or two about building a bankroll, how to maintain your betting, and how to set out units. Basically, he is a whiz at the back end to make sure that you are a successful bettor. So today Danny's going to be chatting about setting up your bankroll and how to differentiate your betting money from your own money. So bring it on, Danny. Okay. So our guest today is Dan, the traveling gambler. How are we going? How's your betting going, mate?
Yeah, going good, going good. Had a nice holiday for a solid pretty much the whole NBA playoffs. So just without access and traveling a lot. So about 2 months off, back into it the last few weeks, ready for EPL. So EPL is something I like to bet on. So I've basically just geared myself up back in the rhythm, fired up a new spreadsheet for the new financial year. And yeah, looking forward to this round actually.
That's brilliant. So, you're here to chat to us about some bankroll management. This is something I absolutely love. It's one of those keys we have to nail to be able to make sure that we can be successful and keep going for a long period of time. So, what's the first step to kick us off with bankroll management?
Yeah, so I think the first step, and I've probably said this a few different times to lots of different people, is it's just separating your money from your everyday money that you use in life to pay your bills, to pay, as we say, your daughter's school fees, and then your money to bet, and to separate those two things. And whatever it is, you could be starting with $100, 500, 5,000 in your betting money, your betting bankroll. I don't think it matters the amount; it just matters to separate them, and then from there, convert it into units or use percentages. So if you're always betting percentages or units and you're adjusting your bankroll unit value, you're never really going to run out of money. I think we worked out if you started with like $100 and you're allowed to bet like say 50 cents or whatever, you'd have to lose like 600 or 700 bets in a row if you're betting like one unit at a time to actually go broke, like physically broke in terms of that $100 bankroll. So my first steps are always separate your money. You're not pulling money out of your weekly paycheck to gamble. You might in the first, say, 4 or 5 pay cycles, you might just put a bit of money in every week until you've got it to a point that you like. But separate it and then absolutely use percentages or use a unit system and go from there. I think if you can separate, then you really have a great chance to be in the long game, to do lots of betting with like basically zero risk to your actual money that you're using for your everyday life. Hopefully, you'd have a profitable betting experience and you could actually start to pull little bits of money out of that to, kind of enhance your everyday life.
That's brilliant. Now, I hear you say units. So, can you tell me what exactly is a unit here?
Yeah, a unit is just pieces of your bankroll. So the most common way I think people do it is they have 100 units in their bankroll. So if they had $1,000, 1,000 divided by 100 is 10. So you'd have $10 units. And so your $1,000 is made up of 100 $10 units. And if you put a tip out, you might say I'm betting one unit. And if you've got $1,000 bankroll, you're betting $10. If I've only got a $500 bankroll, well, I would be betting $5. If you're betting 2 units, 2.5 units, it's just the amount of units, 2.5 times your unit value, in your case, $10, you're betting $25. So it's just almost like a shorthanded way of using like a percentage-based system that kind of works out well for everyone. My unit size could be different to yours, could be different to the next person. So it's just a way for you to indicate how strong you think the bet is and what value you will be putting on it out of your money. Really important to use this or use percentages. It really is the same thing. But in betting talk, we're always talking about units and not as much about actual dollar terms because we all have different amounts of money. So we want to know, oh, I made 50 units. Then I can equate that to my money. You can equate it to your money.
So, say if I have $1,000. should I always be using a $10 unit? Should I be constantly using that through the lifetime of my betting career?
No, there's heaps of research around this exact question on, is it better to have steady units? So you started with 1,000, which means you had $10 units. Do you just keep it no matter if you're down to 500 or you're up to 2,000? Are you still doing those $10 units? And that's a really a really risky way to do it. The way to do it is to every now and then reassess. So if you're down to 500, make a reassessment. You're only on $5 units. If you've actually done really well and you're up to 2,000, reassessment and you're on $20 units. Because when someone tips with a unit advice in mind, they're saying the strength of that bet with the bankroll. So it's really important as often as you can to change your unit price. For some people, they do it after every bet. I generally do it once a day. If I've got 5-6 bets on for the day, I might just use that for the day. I'm not going to, do it after every single bet. So just at least every day, maybe at worst every 2 days, I'm updating my unit price. So I'm never betting too much or too little in respect to the actual value of the bets.
That's brilliant. That sounds like a great way. So when you're winning and you're making money, you're making more money. And when you're losing, you're mitigating your losses.
That's exactly right. When you've got more money to bet with, you can naturally bet more money on the same value. When you have less money, you need to risk less money. So it's a really simple way that after you've separated your money from your everyday household money, you've then got your units, and then you've got a system that's going to keep you alive and maximize, the profitable bets you do and minimize the losing bets you do.
That's brilliant. So I've got my bankroll set. I've separated my money out. I've got my unit size, and I'm ready to bet. Now, should I just be going out and betting on what I think? Or you mentioned earlier you set up a spreadsheet. What's your take on spreadsheets to help you with your betting here?
Yeah, I think I sent you a copy of my spreadsheet. Yeah, I'm big on the spreadsheet. People maybe won't be as big as me. I mean, I've had jobs at tech companies where I basically spent my day in a spreadsheet. I think you need to track your bets somehow. For me, I like to do it manually in my spreadsheet, and it keeps track of if I say it wins. I've put the odds in, I've put the stake in. If I say it wins, it automatically updates and it tells me my unit price. It says if I lose, it would say my unit price has gone down. So, every day I can kind of see where I'm at. I think it's really important to keep track because otherwise you don't know. A lot of people have an idea of how their bets are going, maybe better than they think or worse than they think. But until you actually lay your bets out in a spreadsheet and say, yep, New Zealand Warriors plus 10 at $2, say, and I bet $100 and put the results, until you've done that for a period of time, 100 bets a month, you really don't understand the true picture, even if you've got a good inkling. So I think it's really important to have a basic spreadsheet. And obviously, the more into spreadsheets you are, the more you can take it all kinds of directions. At worst, you can download your transaction histories from all the bookmakers, and you can actually see, how it looks. They'll basically give you a spreadsheet, and you can actually have a look. So at worst, I would be downloading those regularly and reviewing them. Ideally, you'd be keeping your own tracker.
Oh, that sounds perfect. Well, that's got us a great start. So we can start off, get our unit size, we can start tracking our results, and we can move in with it. Now, I know you're a big fan of the NBA. Have you got any tips for us there?
Yeah, I have one tip that I like. I looked at it last week, and the price has actually gone out a bit. And my view hasn't really changed. I like the Philadelphia 76ers as a value bet for the championship. So I think the Nets and Lakers are rightfully the favorites. I think that's correct. I think their prices are extremely undervalued, which is putting the odds in the pack out. Golden State Warriors are also extremely underpriced. So I shouldn't say undervalued, they're underpriced. So there's three teams I think are massively underpriced, which is inflating the pack. The team in the pack I like is Philly. I'm not convinced that Philly weren't good enough to win this year. Danny Green got injured, Simmons had a meltdown, Joel Embiid tore his meniscus, and they lost in 7 in the semis, Eastern semis. So there's a lot to think. Well, without the injury luck, which a lot of clubs can say, they already were possibly good enough to win this year. So are they looking like they're going to get better or worse? I think they're going to get better. They've got one of the best GMs. He's only been in the job 9 months. So I think there's no reason to think Philly aren't going to be better. And for them to be bumped into the pack in tier 2 or tier 3 at $20 odds, I think is a great bet. I think they should be $10. So that's a bet I'm willing to put a little bit on for a future bet. Have a little bite at Philadelphia there. Also $10 in the East. These are both at Sportsbet. $20 at Sportsbet, $10 at Sportsbet for the East. So yeah, Philadelphia to win the championship. Not a pick, but a value bet that I'm willing to have a little piece of.
That's perfect. Well, we're going to throw it in because we're accumulating all the picks from everyone here on the show, all the guest segments, so that we can see which of our guests are bringing you the best tips for all the different sports. Look, Dan, the Traveling Gambler, thank you so much for coming onto the show. You gave us some great advice when it comes to bankroll management and hopefully a cracker when it comes to the 76ers.
Perfect. Thanks for having me on, Caveman.
No worries. Cheers. Thank you so much to Danny there. That's some brilliant information, and I hope it helps you guys to be able to get your bankroll set up. Of course, Danny also dropped out that tip, the 76ers to win the NBA championship next season. I like that bet. I think there's a lot of positives to it, and they're not finished making moves, so this 76ers price could drop quite a lot before the season begins. So we're going to move on to our look ahead game of the week, and we're going to the UFC. Next week's UFC card, Vegas 34, and we're going to the main event fight. That's Kelvin Gastelum versus Jared Cannonier. Now, I'm going to take Kelvin Gastelum on the money line, paying $2.40 right now. I think that is a terrific bet. If we have a look briefly into this fight, so Gastelum, he's lost a few of his last fights. I think he's lost 4 out of 5, all against top quality opposition. There was a loss against Izzy, a loss against Whitaker. I believe there was a loss against Darren Till. Let me have a look here. And Jack Manson was the other one. Now, when we look at these guys, they're all fighters who will just work you and work you and work you and work you. If we have a look at Jared Cannonier, Cannonier at this stage right now is KO or bust. He's going out, he's finding that knockout, he's going to make you hurt, he's going to get you down. Now, Cannonier has a bit of a gas issue when it comes to the third round, so the third round can be completely open. If a fight is going to the cards, Cannonier's probably not going to win. He's lost most of his fights by decision. He just doesn't do well when he gets to the end of that third round and onto the cards. Kelvin Gastelum, never been knocked out, never been TKO'd, and that's the big thing here. Gastelum's got that iron chin that just keeps him in these fights. If Cannonier can't knock him out, Gastelum is well on his way to win this fight. I'm taking Kelvin Gastelum on the money line here at $2.40. I think terrific value. You're getting about plus 120, plus 130 on American there. Excellent, excellent value. Of course, this one will be going ahead next weekend, next Saturday/Sunday, depending on your time zone. Now, moving into our future bet of the week, and of course, because the Premier League is starting, we're going to give you a Premier League tip. So, we're going to go for the champions of the Premier League, and I'm going with Chelsea. Chelsea, $6 plus 500. Terrific value here. I mean, look at what they did once Tuchel took over last season. They won the Champions League. They beat Manchester City 3 times in a row, and they had absolutely out and out the best defence in the league. Their biggest issue last season was having an out and out striker. Timo Werner just didn't live up to expectations, which makes sense. I mean, first season in the Premier League, yeah, it's hard to be able to get that done. Now, if we have a look at what they've done, well, they've just gone and brought in a Romelu Lukaku, who, yeah, he disappointed at Manchester United, didn't disappoint when he was at Inter. He looked fantastic. He looked just like he was when he was at Everton. So bringing in Lukaku is going to solve a lot of those issues up front. This means they have depth. They have a lot of depth. You've got guys like Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Mason Mount, Ziyech, if he stays around or not. There's been word he might be moving on. And you're holding midfield. You've got Jorginho and Kante. You know, that's just so much depth in this team. So I'm absolutely for Chelsea. I mean, Man City, sure. They brought in Grealish. There's word now they're putting a €150 million offer on the table for Harry Kane on a take it or leave it deal. I hope they take it. You know, I'm a Man City supporter myself, but I don't think we win this year. You know, Chelsea, it's the defense that does it for me. That defense is solid, and it's a great structured defense. So I'm on Chelsea to win the Premier League, plus 500, $6. I mean, you're getting great value. I think Man City's $1.67. Nothing there. There's nothing there for them. So let's back Chelsea this season. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching the video here. Of course, our second episode of the show. Now guys, please give the channel a subscribe. I'm dropping daily content right now. We've got fantasy stuff coming out, DFS, we have prediction videos, of course the tipping show. Everything's coming out on this channel, so make sure to subscribe so you can get the notifications to be able to get those videos first. Like this video, throw down some comments. Do you like my bets? Do you not like my bets? Hey, that's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, one of us is going to be on the winning side. Of course, please guys as well, make sure to share this out to your friends. Make sure everyone can get their dose of Caveman bet action. Now, if you want to get my official tips and you want to get onto what I'm releasing to all our subscribers, head over to blackswanbets.com/caveman. There's a link in the description below, and you'll be able to get all of my tips that I'm releasing, NRL, EPL, NFL. They're all on there for an extremely reasonable price. You can jump on weekly, monthly, or a season-long pass. And like I say, this is one of the cheapest prices in the business to get a high percentage turnover on tip. So absolutely jump on there, check it out. There's also a 1 week free trial. Absolutely no need to buy if you don't like the tips, but hey, why wouldn't you? We just win and win and win. I think last week we went plus another 13 units on the NRL. Before that we were plus 20 units on the week. It just keeps going on. So guys, absolutely jump onto Caveman's tips. That is at blackswanbets.com/caveman, and the link's in the description below. Cheers guys.